Hello, I'm making a video about putting a cable throttle body on an 8.1 V8. This is a 2002 Chevy Avalanche 2500 with chronic reduced engine power. Anytime it sets any code, it goes into full REP. This is just the first test with the cable throttle body, just putting it on without doing any kind of tune or PCM changes, just to see if it even runs. I had a family member that recently dinged the front of this thing, so I'm trying to decide if it's worth putting more money into it, as far as getting the shop maybe to mess with all the electronic stuff. So that's what this is about. I welcome any comments from anyone that knows more about doing these kind of things than I do. Right now I'm just driving this reliable old 1500 over there that's of course got the cable throttle body, so we will see. But right now this truck is dead in the water, as I'll explain more in the video. This is what it looks like with the reduced engine power. Rev it up as high as it'll go. I got my foot down to the floor. It goes about 21, maybe 22. As you can see, my foot is down to the floor. There's no additional room. A lot of people say their truck goes to 3,000, which that would be nice, because I've been stranded on the side of the road. I live in an area with hills, and it cannot pull itself up a hill like this. So it's happened to me many times. That's why I'm making the video. Also, there are times when I can carry my code reader with me and clear a code and make it down the road, or I can doing some clearing right now. You see the light goes off, comes right back on. I got my foot down to the floor, and I can erase the code. It says erase done. I can keep pressing yes, erase done, yes, erase done. It always comes right back. So that's not a solution to get me off the side of the road. Sometimes it is, but like the situation right now, setting the code. And I agree, I can fix these codes. I can usually find some electrical connection or some part to change that helps the code. But it's usually something different with this old truck. And I don't mind fixing it, but when I'm on the side of the road, uh, you know, it's a pain in the butt. I just want to be able to drive usually 4 or 5 miles, at least to the nearest auto parts store where I can work on it in the parking lot, or to my house, or drive it to a shop. So it's just stupid. I'm sick of it. This is the throttle body that it's the cable throttle body that I ordered from Rock Auto. It says 1999 Chevrolet C2500 Suburban 7.4 liter V8. The AC Delco 170961144. So this is the unit. I didn't order the spacer yet that I read about online, because I wanted to see, different trucks are made different ways. Supposedly the actual cable mechanism, as it turns, would hit against something on the engine. Anyway, I also ordered this gasket. You got AC Delco 125700168. It's got the 3 main bolts. That's 1, 2, 3. A lot of throttle bodies have 4, but this intake has the 1 on top and the 2 on bottom bolts. So that looks right. Then you got to look at things like, what are we going to do with the plugs? Although we will be opening the throttle with the gas pedal, it still would be nice if, you know, at some point we're able to totally prevent a bunch of idiot lights coming on. So as I see it, this existing throttle position sensor, which I will henceforth call TPS, has a big wide plug on it, whereas this one just has a little round plug. So it looks like hopefully I will be able to take that TPS loose from the old drive-by-wire throttle body and screw that into this cable throttle body, because the current long, probably 4 connector plug is not going to go in this hole where it's 3 and it's round. The other issue is where the old drive-by-wire plug goes in to you know, tell this electric motor type thing to open and close the throttle body, the throttle. Now we're going to be dealing with something different. So it looks like, however, although it may not benefit anything, that we might be able to unplug this. I actually messed with this a minute ago. You don't need to undo these side clips. You just push down on this part right here and pull this out, and the whole thing comes loose. And like that. Let's look at that. We got 2 conductors, and the old drive-by-wire system has a bunch of, wait, I'm sorry, the new cable throttle body has a bunch of 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one, it's interesting. You would think over here on this electric motor that opens and closes the throttle, you would think that that would have a bunch of connectors, and then the different plugs on the cable, traditional, you know, gas pedal pushing a cable to open the throttle, would have fewer plugs for whatever you would even need. That's why all this stuff is so confusing to me. It's just reverse what you would think it would be. But anyway, the old cable is not going to plug into anything, so I guess we'll just try to run it with nothing plugged into this plug and with the cable on it. So the next step is going to be to decide whether I need the spacer that I've heard about. I'm actually not seeing a lot of obstacles on this truck. Again, this is a 2002 Chevy Avalanche 2500. You can see it's kind of a rare truck, Avalanche 2500. I've done some customizations, put the adapters on that allow me to run the newer GM 3/4 ton 2500 whatever rims, and that also spaced them out a little, but it gives the truck a pretty nice look. I mean, I love the truck. It's everything I've always wanted, you know, for towing, going 4-wheeling. But again, it's just this constant, never know if you're going to be able to go for 6 months running great, or you're going to have a week of running great and then you're on the side of the road with the reduced engine power, trying to decide whether to get a tow truck or what. So anyway, the next step will be to throw this throttle body on and see if I need a spacer in order for the thing to turn. So what I'm hearing is generally the 01 and the 02 are pretty much the same. I'm thinking they're probably the same in a lot of different vehicles. And then the 03, I think through 08, has a lot of changes, although it's still the same motor, you know, block and intake and all that stuff. But my point is, on the 01 and 02, they all may look like this, and they may not need the spacer to allow the cable throttle to operate. But if I'm able to get mine on without a spacer, odds are if you have a 01 or 02, you should be able to do the same. But I'm not, you know, sure about the 03 on. It would possibly be different. I wanted to say one other thing about 01s and 02s being different, as far as I could tell. Apparently, after 03, when you get reduced engine power, you can go up to 3,000 RPMs, which would be good to get off the side of the road. So this solution may not matter for people with a 03 and later. This may be a 01 and 02 kind of thing, because I think most people are like me. They don't mind working on things and fixing them anytime something messes up, but you just don't want to have to do it on the side of the road. So if you got a truck that during reduced engine power will go up to 3,000 RPMs and you can get off the side of the road, or if you have one that stays around 2,000, 21, 2,200 like mine, and you live in a flat area like, you know, Houston, Texas or something, then you could probably get to where you're going to work on it. So in my case, I live in a hilly area and we're stuck at, you know, around 2,000, and so I'm just, you know, very tired of that situation. All right, I took the duct work off. It was just hose clamps with a 9mm socket, and then these 3 bolts on the throttle body are 10mm. Pretty self-explanatory. I was gonna say, if you see a bunch of wires that I've added, it's because of that reduced engine power. One of the tricks is to try to add new ground wires everywhere, and that seemed to help for a while. So anyway, that's why there's extra wires. Okay, we got the throttle body off. It was just those bolts, and then I took the TPS off with a Torx driver. It was a T20. Then I got the old gasket. Looks just like the new gasket, so that's good. The new throttle body, cable throttle body, looks like it's going to line up okay. So try to throw it on here. Okay, got the cable throttle body sitting on there. Went pretty smooth. Cleaned up the bottom part, the piece on the intake where, you know, underneath the gasket. I cleaned that up a little bit, and the gasket looks good. Throttle body goes on good. The only clearance issue I think I'm going to have is this oil fill tube. So if I am able to rev it up using this, then I'm going to take that out and probably put in a little S-shaped tube of some sort. I'm sure I'll be able to fabricate something and put some silicone around it down there. So first step though, I'm going to tighten this up and see what happens. I mean, I hook things up, see if it'll even run. And one other thing, of course, I've got to take this TPS off of the new one because I'm going to try to use my old plug. So that's that's going to be a little adventure to see what happens. I'm trying to use the old throttle position sensor, so we'll see what that looks like. And here we are looking at the old throttle position sensor and the new throttle position sensor. So we're going to try to keep using the old one, but it looks like it might work. Okay, well, running into interesting developments. First of all, the actual cable pull unit that opens the throttle is definitely hitting on the oil fill tube. Hopefully it'll still be opening enough to test it to go over 2,000 RPMs if it starts, right? But also another thing that I hadn't noticed is the old throttle body is a larger diameter than the new one. So as you can see, this rubber piece that goes on the throttle body before the plastic intake hose is loose on the new one, whereas it was tight on the old one. So I think I am going to hook it all up and maybe put something on it to press it onto the back right here just for testing. But I've already decided that I'm going to hook the ductwork back up before I try to start the truck, because the mass airflow sensor is another place where, you know, the truck is getting data, and I don't want it to not be getting air moving across it while I'm trying to convince it to start. Okay, here's what I got. I put this clamp right here so that presses down on the duct that comes up, so that this area is pressed against the metal. That soft rubber pressed against the metal should keep it airtight. This clamp is loose because that has no bearing on. You know what? I think I'm going to tighten that clamp. Let me come right back. All right, I went ahead and tightened that clamp because that little ring is basically a insert in there. So now it's tight over the ring, and the ring should be tight down against the metal. And that way we've got the mass airflow sensor hooked up doing its job. So although we can't rev it up from the ignition in the truck, we're going to give it a shot and see if it tries to idle. Oh, this should be interesting. So, all right. Well, how about that? It definitely doesn't like it. It's running. Let's turn the AC off. It's hot over here. Wow, it's idling. It's idling at 16,000 RPMs. It took 20 seconds to make its adjustments to get there, but it is actually idling. So let's try revving it up a little. I'll be damned. It's revving up, but it's not liking it. It's kind of bogging. Doesn't want to rev. So that's disappointing. Okay, I got it positioned. I'm gonna go try to rev it up. Well, it's looking like the whole thing is a fail. Gotta think about what's going on here. We actually are able to get it to rev up over 2,000. What I did was I cleared the codes. The only new code that we have, which is staying on now, is 1515, which is throttle actuator control, so that's not surprising. But anyway, I'm about to go rev it up again and show you that I'm getting it up over. So what I did was I plugged in that 2-conductor wire to the old throttle body and just have it sitting up on top of the intake. Of course, the throttle body is not connected to anything, so anyway, just having that plugged in may seem to let it rev up. So as of now, that's the highest rev I can get. It actually revs up to that point and still has some movement, but stops increasing RPMs over that peak level there. So I don't think the issue is the obstacle of the oil fill tube, but I do think that I have proven that putting the cable throttle body can theoretically fix my problem to get me off the side of the road. So the question is, am I going to be able to figure out a way to make the truck run normally where I could do anything I want with it, to have a permanent cable throttle body? And I don't know about that. So I think I'm going to send this video around to some people who understand the relationship of the PCM and the throttle and I guess ignition and all that stuff, and see if they think there's some customization that I could do. So that's where we're at. Not sure if I'm going to move forward with the long-term gas pedal adjusting the thing. By the way, I did have to put something on the gas pedal because it's telling the old throttle body to open up. So that helps the truck to not bog down. So it might turn out that I end up, I don't know how, maybe I could put both the cable throttle body and the old throttle body not connected to anything, but have it set up so that when you press the gas pedal, it moves both the drive-by-wire throttle body not connected to the engine and the cable throttle body that is connected to the engine. So that would be an interesting workaround. But anyway, for those of you who've wondered about this, there it is so far. Check back, we'll see if we do more to permanently attach.